folks, and welcome back to another episode of Friday Night Spotlight, brought to you by 911 Air Repair, your local air conditioning expert specializing in maintenance, repair, and new installations. We are talking more playoffs this week. We had two teams from last week advance in Florence and ALA Ironwood, and now we also have the addition of our bigger schools in 4A and 5A. Starting off with our 3A schools, let's see here. How are we starting off? Number 8, ALA Ironwood. They are going to be at number 1, Benjamin Franklin. Last week, ALA Ironwood got here. They defeated number 9 Payson 36-20, and Ben Franklin got the 46-0 win over number 16 Page. Now, this is a rematch of a regular season game. These two teams met back on September 27th. Ben Franklin won that game 35-14. David, what are you expecting this time around?
Yeah, it's going to be a lesson of what did they learn from their last time they played them. Benjamin Franklin's obviously one of the best teams, the best team ranking-wise in 3A, so it's really going to come down to what did they pick up in that regular season game that they could use to their advantage. They're going to lean on their offense with guys like Aiden Williams who are going to run the ball a bunch, but that defense from Benjamin Franklin is going to be a powerhouse, so they are going to have to find different ways to get Aiden involved and make him more effective with that strong defense. So they're going to have to use all their best tools to their advantage. They're going to have to use what they've seen on film and what they've seen firsthand when they played them earlier to take that to their advantage. It's a 1 seed. It's going to be a tough game, but one thing that is going to be a little bit of a benefit for them, despite Ironwood being on the road, they don't have to travel that much. They're going to be in Queen Creek. They are also from Queen Creek, so it's not that big of a change for them, especially when you see other teams having to travel, 2-3 hours outside of where they are. That's always going to be a tough stretch when you're going so far on the road. So this is going to be a little bit of an advantage for them, but they are still going to have to play at their best if they want to win. Lauren Dawson has done a fantastic job leading this team and turning this program around completely. This is a good start for them right now, but things might get a little bit tough for them with this Benjamin Franklin matchup. So I expect them to play at their hardest and play their best, but sometimes the number 1 seed is just going to be too powerful. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens and see how they can learn from previous mistakes and learn from previous opponents to see what happens on Friday night.
So, looking at Ben Franklin throughout their games, they've outscored opponents 468-108. And going back to that game they played back in September, Aiden Williams all season long, he's averaged 212 rushing yards per game, but against Ben Franklin, he was only limited to 96 yards, 1 touchdown on 18 carries. So like David mentioned, ALA Ironwood is going to have to look at different options to just kind of take that load and pressure off of Aiden Williams and just kind of stall Ben Franklin's defense and try and have them play a little bit more balanced and not just solely focus on locking Williams up. Looking at Ben Franklin, Ridge Allen, that one game, 253 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns. Hey, this is all going to come down to who can capitalize when they have the ball. Both of these teams are really run heavy, and by doing that, they eat up a lot of clock. So when you have the ball, you got to be able to make sure you take care of it, and then you score, because that's what it's going to come down to, is who scores last or who makes a big stop, pretty much. Moving on to our next game, staying in 3A, we are looking at number 6, Florence, at number 3, Thatcher. Florence got here with the 21-7 win over number 11, Wickenburg last week, and Thatcher defeated number 14, Gilbert Christian, 56-14. David, what are you looking at in this game?
I'm looking at how Florence can be improved. I wasn't too satisfied with that only 21-7 win in their first round. So it's going to come down to, can they actually improve and show that they've been the same team they have all year. And it's going to be a tough opponent. Thatcher, like you mentioned, was an absolute powerhouse in their first round game. They were easily going to move on and advance to this game. And Florence, unlike ALA Ironwood and other teams, are going to have to go on the road pretty decent. So they're going to have to battle those adversities and make sure that they can kind of continue to be the team that we've expected them to. Logan Stenson has been fantastic as both the quarterback and a runner as well, so you expect him to kind of use those dual threat roles to his advantage. They're going to have to continue to rely on him as well as other running backs and wide receivers. Their defense has to be top-notch because defense is going to play a huge factor in all these playoff games. Defense wins championships. We've said it so many times, and they're going to have to prove it again this time against a really good Thatcher offense. So expect this to be a really tough, gritty game. I expect them to kind of rely on the run game a little bit more for Florence, just to make sure that they can continue to move the clock and also move the ball downfield. So expect a heavy running game in my eyes, but we'll have to see wait and see what happens with this one. It's going to be a tough matchup like most of these games that we're going to be seeing. So we'll just have to hope for the best with Florence.
So real quickly, I gotta add, all of our teams, our local Pinal County teams, are on the road. Looking at Florence, like David mentioned, going on the road throughout the regular season, the furthest they went is Safford. Otherwise, they were either at Gilbert or Queen Creek, which isn't a far drive from Florence. So it's gonna be interesting to see how this road trip kind of affects this Gophers team just before they even get on the field. And then looking at Thatcher is battle tested going into this. Um, one of their two losses in the regular season came to Yuma Catholic, the number one team in 4A, and they only lost 19-12. So this Thatcher team has been through it more so than Florence has. We mentioned previous weeks, Florence having that long break, but otherwise, looking at the regular season schedule, there wasn't a lot of high quality competition for this Gophers team. So it's going to be interesting to see just how they adjust the long road trip, going up against a quality opponent, and seeing if they can continue what they've done pretty much all season long. Moving on to 4A, we are talking about number 16 Combs at number 1 Yuma Catholic, and Combs might be kind of a surprise for a lot of people. I wouldn't say Combs is really a surprise for us. We kind of knew coming into this season they had depth this year, which is what hurt them last year, and because they had that depth, they didn't have a lot of players playing two-way, would led them to be healthy, and hey, now they're the number 16 seed here. David, what are you expecting in this matchup?
Well, first and foremost, I think it's awesome that this team was able to actually squeak in because they've been on the bubble pretty much the entire year. And to see them, they were outside of the bubble at like 17, 18, all the way up to 15 at one point, and now firmly stat in the 16 seed. So first of all, just congratulations to Combs for being able to do it. They were, a game away, I believe 2 years ago when they played Phoenix Arcadia in the last game of the year, but a bad missed call on a pass interference did not go their way, and that kind of sealed their fate a couple years ago. But now they are back where they have always wanted to be in the playoff mix. But as a playoff gift for them, they got to play the number one team in Yuma Catholic, and that's going to be a tough score. But in this game, Cannon Hale has been a really solid quarterback. He's just a sophomore, and he's obviously made some mistakes there. He's got 13 touchdowns and on 12 interceptions, so maybe the passing game could use a little bit more fine-tuning, but that's what you get when you play a young quarterback. And to his credit, he has done a really good job of leading this team, and he also can run a little bit as well. I think he's done a really good job in that aspect. Jeff Cote has been a great running back for them, 755 yards of rushing for them. So expect them to kind of continue to rely on their stars, but it's going to be a tough sledding against a number one seeded team. But to their credit, they have done a great job to this point, and we're going to see how this team can, use this playoff experience to their advantage because they still have a lot of young guys. Hale, as I mentioned, only a sophomore. He's going to be back for the next 2 years. How is that going to propel him, and now that he sees what playoff football is like in the 4A conference?
Looking at Yuma Catholic, Combs is pretty much going to have their hands full with this one. Quarterback Nash Oat, 2,200 passing yards, a 68% completion rate, 29 touchdowns, and just 8 interceptions. While Combs' defense has been phenomenal this whole season, 15 sacks, 9 interceptions, 12 fumble recoveries. They haven't really seen an opponent like Yuma Catholic. Yeah, they've gone up against Vista Grande, Arcadia, Arizona College Prep, but Yuma Catholic is kind of a different beast when it comes to just entering the playoff mode here. Defensively, Rocky Stallworth, 9 sacks. He has 156 total tackles. Sean Carter, 126 tackles, 14 and 10 for a loss. So I think, it's going to be kind of a long road trip, unfortunately, but for Combs, but I think they can make it somewhat of a game. Continuing on with 4A, we are talking about number 11, Vista Grande, at number 6, Prescott. Another rematch here, and also, hey, this is the first time since 2015 that Vista Grande is in a playoff game, so this is a pretty big deal. David, what are you expecting in this game?
I'm expecting them to, again, rely on their stars. We saw it last year when they started out with quarterback Brennan Hunt, and they, made the switch to Altorn, and that has really helped them out. And Brennan Hunt still has a role in this offense. He's kind of played more of a wide receiver role a little bit for them, and also a running back. So they're going to use their stars. They're going to use them to their advantage as well. Those two guys, Hunt and Gant, have been a really good duo there. Gant now being the quarterback has really helped them because he came from 5A Casa Grande. He has seen a lot of high-quality opponents coming from that 5A conference, and that has definitely aided him now with the 4A Vista Grande. So Prescott's going to be a tough matchup. Prescott is a really run-heavy team. We see it a lot with a lot of these northern Arizona opponents where they are able to, run teams to the ground just from their conditioning and from their athleticism. So expect a lot of that from this game. I think Vista Grande can have a little bit of a chance here if they're continuing to rely on their stars and rely on their defense as well. So it's just going to have to come down to can they limit the mistakes and continue to move on and possibly get through this Prescott team.
So, looking at Vista Grande's schedule, recent circumstances aside, this is the one game Vista would really like back. Because going back to that September 20th game that Prescott won 31-26, Vista Grande was one kick return away from winning this game. Had it not been for Josiah Peoples getting that, I think it was like a 90-something kick return for a touchdown. Hey, Vista Grande was in this game. This is that game where they made that switch from Brendan Hunt to Torna Gann as the starting quarterback, and things really started clicking for them. So in this game, hey, they know what not to do when it comes against Prescott, but it's not going to be any easier. Looking at Prescott quarterback Uriah Tenet, this guy can scramble to save his life. He will extend plays however possible. Sometimes it doesn't even look humanly possible, but he is able to do it with his legs, with his arms, and that's going to be a handful for Vista Grande. But because they've already played this, they know what to do and what not to do. So that's going to be the key here. Also, they tend to get a little heated sometimes, whether they're up or whether they're down. Penalties will count against them. So hey, if they can keep calm and composed and just fix those little things from the first time around, I think Vista Grande can get the upset here. And just moving on to our last game, we are going up to 5A, number 14, Casa Grande Union. At number 3, Sierra Vista Buena. Also, another rematch. David, you saw this game the first time. What are you expecting the second time around?
Run the ball, and run the ball. That has been the Casa Grande Union Cougars' kryptonite this entire season. If you want to beat the Cougars, you're going to have to run the ball, and they're going to run the ball a lot. And first of all, in just the grand spectrum, Casa Grande has been through an absolute roller coaster this season, from their first win going up against their former coach Jake Barrow, and then the brawl in the stands that we saw in the first week, to going on a good win streak, to losing 3 straight against really quality opponents. Thank God for the Open division, because there were 4 5A teams that made the Open, so that really boosted Casa Grande Union's chances of getting into the postseason. And we thought it was over when they lost to Cienega in their last game. We were just assumed that, they lost, they're not going to be able to make it out, but now they've been helped by the AAA rankings, and they've been able to use it to their advantage, and now they get a chance to go up against a region opponent. These two teams know each other so well. Last season, it was a win for Casa Grande Union against Buena that got them to the postseason last year. So now they're going to have to do the same thing, but this time it is for playoff potential. And I think Buena is going to continue to run the ball hard and run the ball well. I think CG Union is going to have to rely on their depth, which has been a problem for them. They're going to have healthy guys. Luke Keaton is only a junior going up against a really good 5A teams here. They're going to have to rely on guys like Avion Williams and Kendall Cade in the receiving aspect of it. They have to play mistake-free football. That has been the huge problem for CG Union so far. When they get down, sometimes they get a little chippy and they have meaningless penalties that really hurt them. They cannot have this happen. This is playoff football. You have to keep your wits about you. You have to keep your emotions in check. And if they can do that, they could have a chance here because they know this team pretty well. So we'll have to see what happens with this one. If they can play mistake-free, if they can rely on their guys, if they can just be the CG Union Cougars, they could win this one, but it's still going to be a tough matchup with how good Buena's run offense is.
My biggest question here for CG Union is, where are they at mentally? David mentioned that final regular season game for them against Cienega that they lost. Then they had the bye week. You're going into that bye week thinking, okay, hey, it's over. If you're still practicing and everything, how much effort were the guys really giving in at that point, thinking they were done, and then just on Saturday finding out, hey, no, it's not over yet. We're still in this thing. So you have that kind of bye week in itself where things are just a little bit more lackadaisical. You're nursing injury and everything, but for them going in at the very end of the season, not really knowing where they are, and just having to prepare in these next 5-6 days, maybe less, for a quality opponent like Buena that really likes to run the ball. I don't know where the CG Union team is at mentally. Maybe, hey, they're rolling on all cylinders. They have that chip on their shoulder. They're coming in ready to prove everybody wrong, or maybe not. I don't know. That's my biggest question coming into this game. We will have to wait and see how this one turns out, as well as all of our other road warriors. And just hey, maybe we'll be back next week with the wrap up of our football season. Maybe we'll be talking about one or maybe more of these teams that managed to pull off an upset. As always, be sure to check out Canal Central for all of your local sports coverage.